His name was Bamidele Idowu. He was a major in the Nigerian Army. When he enrolled in the army, the young Bamidele may have wished that someday he will rise to the enviable rank of a military general, occupy the best attainable positions in the army, and eventually retire in peace upon completion of his service in the army. But his dreams became dashed while he wore the rank of major. In this edition of Back in History, we bring to you the story of a young, vibrant personnel of the Nigerian Army who lost his life at the firing squad in Lagos State, Nigeria, for failing to expose a coup plot to the authorities. Welcome to this edition of Back in History. While serving in Jos in 1983, Bamidele became aware of a plot by some of his military colleagues to remove the civilian administration of President Shehu Shagari from office through a military coup. He was informed of the plot because perhaps the coup plotters wanted him to be part of the plot and the eventual execution of the coup. He got the information in Kaduna, where he had traveled to from Jos on an official assignment. On his return to his base in Jos, Bamidele moved straight to the office of his commander and informed him of what he was told in Kaduna. His intention for informing his commander was for the commander to disclose the information to higher authorities within the army with a view to arresting the coup plotters and stopping the coup from taking place. To Bamidele's greatest surprise, his commander ordered for his arrest and detention. The said commander was Major General Muhammadu Buhari, who was the GOC in Jos. Bamidele did not know that the GOC himself was part of the coup and was the likely successor to the office of president should the coup succeed. The GOC then decided to have Bamidele detained in custody. Preparations for the coup went on, and in December 1983, the coup plot was executed and President Shehu Shagari was removed from office along with his vice, Dr. Alex Ekwueme, and the person that emerged as the new military head of state of Nigeria was Bamidele's GOC, Major General Muhammadu Buhari. At this point, Bamidele was still in prison. When he got to hear the news that his GOC has emerged as the new head of state of Nigeria, Bamidele was shocked to the marrow, but was able at this point to connect the dots on why the GOC had him detained. Bamidele may have also blamed himself for approaching the GOC with the information in the first place, but at this time, his regret was too late. But he earnestly hoped that the new military head of state, who must have seen his sincerity of purpose, would assist him out of detention. Bamidele was grilled by the military, and in the end, a number of names were recommended to the head of state for compulsory retirement from the army. Bamidele was one of the names recommended for retirement. When the list was presented to General Muhammadu Buhari, he crossed off the name of Bamidele and gave instruction that he should be removed from detention and redeployed to another military formation. The orders of the commander-in-chief was obeyed with immediate effect, and Bamidele was posted to Jaji as a directing staff. This is how Bamidele regained his freedom and resumed military duties. Bamidele may have thus cautioned himself that should he ever become aware of any plan to unseat a government, he will keep such information to himself and will not tell his superiors about it. It was indeed a case of once bitten, twice shy. Bamidele quietly went about his work, and in 1985 there was another coup, and this time General Muhammadu Buhari and his deputy Lieutenant General Tunde Idiagbon were removed from office, and a new head of state emerged in the person of General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. Buhari was arrested and sent to Benin in Edo State, where he was kept under house arrest, and the premises was heavily guarded by soldiers. Tunde Idiagbon was also arrested and detained elsewhere. In the course of Babangida's administration in 1986, a group of soldiers met at a guest house in Makurdi, and at the meeting, the soldiers criticized the policies of Babangida's administration and discussed extensively about the regime. Information leaked to General Babangida that the soldiers that met at the guest house in Makurdi did so for the purpose of making final preparations to remove him from office through a military coup. Babangida went into action and ordered the arrest of the soldiers. Major Bamidele Idowu, who was in attendance at the meeting in Makurdi and who heard the discussions by his superiors in rank, was among the persons arrested, and the charge against him was that he heard of a coup plot but refused to inform his superiors of the plot. He was charged for conspiracy to remove Babangida from office. This was the second time of Bamidele finding himself in this situation. It was more of a twist of fate. He was lucky in 1983, but he was not lucky in 1986. A military tribunal was constituted by President Babangida, and all the persons arrested and implicated in the military coup were taken before the tribunal and tried for treason and treasonable felonies. It was also at this time that Maman Vatsa was arrested. Maman was Babangida's long-standing friend and classmate. When Maman did his wedding to an Efik woman, Babangida was his best man, and when Babangida wedded Mariam Okogu from Delta State, Maman Vatsa was his best man. This is how close the two senior army officers were. But Maman was implicated in the said coup plot and taken before the tribunal along with others. They were tried and found culpable. They were thus sentenced to death by firing squad. When it was time for Bamidele to speak, he made an emotional speech before the tribunal in the following words, quote, "I heard of the 1983 coup planning, and I told my GOC General Buhari, who detained me for 2 weeks in Lagos. Instead of a pat on the back, I received a stab. How then do you expect me to report this one? This trial marks the eclipse of my brilliant and unblemished career of 19 years. I fought in the civil war with the ability it pleased God to give me. It is unfortunate that I am being convicted for something which I have had to stop on 2 occasions. This is not self-adulation, but a sincere summary of the qualities inherent in me. It is an irony of fate that the president of this tribunal, who in 1964 felt that I was good enough to take training in the United Kingdom, is now saddled with the duty of showing me the exits from the force and from the world." End of quote. This is how the curtain fell on Major Bamidele Idowu. He was caught in the web that cost him his life. In the first instance, he reported a coup plot to his superior in line with military regulations and got detained by the superior. When he found himself in a similar situation about 3 years after, he refused to report it to his superiors, and sadly, this cost him his life. Bamidele, Maman Vatsa, and others were lined up at the firing squad in Lagos and executed one after the other. This brought to a dark end the military career of Major Bamidele Idowu in 1986. Bamidele was born in 1949. He joined the Nigerian Army as a non-commissioned officer in 1968 during the Nigerian Civil War, where he fought in the 12th Commando Brigade, initially under Colonel Benjamin Adekunle and later Colonel Olusegun Obasanjo. Bamidele was commissioned as an officer after formal training at the Nigerian Defense Academy on July 29, 1970. He graduated from the Advanced U.S. Army Infantry course at Fort Benning, Georgia, with outstanding recommendations, which led to a personal letter of commendation from then Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Theophilus Danjuma. Bamidele attended the junior division of the Ghana Staff College Teshi, Ghana, where he also distinguished himself, attaining the highest rank of command during the final military exercise. He was enrolled in the 3rd Command and Staff College Senior Course Jaji from 1980 to 1981 and graduated in the top 5%. He held a number of interesting appointments during his career. From 1976 to 1979, he was Grade 2 Staff Officer in the G Branch Operations at Army Headquarters. When he returned from Teshi in 1979, he was appointed Grade 2 Staff Officer for training at the Nigerian Defense Academy. After completing Senior Division Staff training at Jaji, he was made the General Staff Officer 2, Operations and Training at the headquarters of the 3rd Armored Division in Jos. During this tour of duty, he got nominated for service abroad. In 1982, he was the Operations Officer for the Nigerian Battalion (NIBAT) as part of the United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon. This was the Nigerian Battalion in Lebanon at the time of the Israeli invasion. The battalion was later pulled out by President Shehu Shagari, and upon his return from Lebanon, Major Bamidele was the Operations Officer of the 3 Division headquarters during the border war between Nigeria and Chad. Bamidele was indeed an outstanding military officer. His story is indeed a pathetic one. Thanks for watching this edition of Back in History, and do remember to subscribe to this channel or follow the page for regular notification on every new video. I am your friend and host Ekeminudim, wishing you the best of time as we continue to dig together into the archives of the history of Nigeria and Africa.